Hello, my dear children. Welcome to lecture number 3 on force and Newton's laws of motion. Here, I am going to discuss about types of forces first, and later we will take the most important experiment made by Galileo Galilei. So, let me begin with today's class as types of forces. First, there are two major types of forces. They are number one, contact forces, and second one, non-contact forces. So we have two different kinds. You say two major types of forces. One is contact force and other one is non-contact force. So what do you mean by contact force? The name itself suggests, dear children, that the forces acting or exerting each other when they are in contact. So the definition says the forces exerted by an object, the forces exerted by an object or a body on the another body only when they are in contact. So the forces acting on one body to another when they are in contact. Such forces of a body is known as contact force or sometimes contact forces. If more than two forces are acting, you call it as contact forces. Okay. So the forces exerted by an object on the another object only when they are in contact. They are known to be as contact forces. Okay. The forces such as normal force, frictional force, and tensile force, etc., are contact forces. The forces such as normal force, frictional force, tensile force are generally contact forces we call. Let us take some examples for the contact type of forces. Any push or pull is an example for normal force. Any push or pull, it is in day-to-day life you are pushing or pulling the doors, or you are pushing any objects or dragging any objects. They are all the examples for the forces which are in contact, and hence the name contact forces. Similarly, we have a book kept on a table is also an example for normal force. How? If you are asking, when you are placing the book on the table, the book applies the downward force. Assume we have a table here, we kept a book on it. So this is a table and this is book. Assume a book kept on a table. Probably we used in the last periods too. Okay. So the book is applying the downward force on the table due to its own weight, and the table pushes the book upwards. That is called reaction actually. So that is acting upwards, which keeps the book in equilibrium. So both book and table exchange the normal force. This is also an example for contact force. So these two examples are the simple examples for normal type of force. Normal force itself is a contact force. Okay. I hope you got this example clear. When we try to slide a heavy box on a rough floor, So when we are sliding a heavy box on a rough floor by pushing it, a force acting parallel to the surface in contact with the floor and opposes the pushing force in the form of friction. If you are pushing a heavy box on a rough floor, it is difficult to push. Why? We have the opposite force acting on the floor on the heavy box. By that, it is opposing our force. It is in the form of friction. Friction is also an example for contact force. We are going to discuss this part of friction later. So as an example here, friction is also an example for contact force. So similarly, we have another type of force, that is tension or tensile force we call. You have seen the suspension bridges with the cables. So those cables are producing tensile forces in the cable itself. By that, the bridge balances. If you are watching the bridges in say the metropolitan cities, you will see the larger, assume this is a bridge, you will have so many cables connected to that. So these cables are gripping the entire bridge. So the force which is acting on those cables on that particular bridge is in the form of tension or tensile force we used to call. For this part of the study, you will understand that portion in the upcoming years, maybe PUC first year or so. So just I am giving the example for contact force. That is also the tension or tensile force is an example for contact force. Okay, I hope you got the portion of contact force right. Now let us try to understand the non-contact forces. So again, the name suggests that they are not in contact. Okay, the forces exerted by an object or a body on another only when they are not in contact, or better you call without contact. Okay, there is a force exerting on one body to another, but they are not in contact. Such forces are known to be as contact forces. The forces exerted by one body to the another which are not in contact, that is said to be the non-contact force. These forces are also called as action at a distance forces. You are, or sometime you call it as field forces. You call it as field forces. Non-contact forces are of two additional names: action at distance force or field forces. So the forces such as gravitational force, which will be our next topic. Anyway, the gravitational force, electrostatic force, and magnetic force, these are all the general examples for, general ways of non-contact forces. Okay. Some examples for non-contact force. The force between, the force of attraction between the moon and the earth is an example for non-contact force. That is called as a gravitational force. The force of attraction between moon and the earth is the example of non-contact force. It is called as gravitational force. The next example, that is the force of attraction between sun and the planets. The sun and the planets, the force between those two, between two, are known as non-contact force, which are again the gravitational, which is again the gravitational force, which is non-contact. Okay, the attractive or repulsive force between two magnetic materials is also a non-contact force. This type of force is also called as a field force. They are called as field force. Okay, the force of attraction or repulsion between two magnetic materials, such as two bar magnets. If you are bringing north south pole of a magnet, what it does, it does the attraction. I mean, those two magnetic materials having north and south pole, they are going to attract each other, whereas the north pole or south pole, if you are bringing, they are going to repel each other. The forces generated due to that is known as magnetic force. Magnetic force is also an example for non-contact force. It is also called as I said, that field force. When we rub dry hair with a comb and brought nearer the pieces of paper, those pieces attracted by the comb, that is due to electrostatic force. We call it as electrostatic force. It is also a field force, keep in mind. So when you are rubbing your dry hair with the comb and brought nearer the pieces of paper, those pieces of paper attract each other with the comb. That is due to electrostatic force, which you are going to learn in the 10th standard. So these are all without contact. These forces are without contact, and hence the name, they are non-contact forces. I hope you got the contact and non-contact forces right. Dear children, let us move on to the next part, the Galileo's experiment, to demonstrate the unbalanced force accelerates or decelerates the object. As in the previous classes, we knew that the two most important persons did many work on the concept of motion. One of them was Galileo, and the another one will be Sir Isaac Newton. So these two are the prominent figures in the field of physics because they did the practical works along with their observations and all other things. Okay, let us try to understand what Galileo did. Before Galileo's observations, there was a misbelief. Okay, before Galileo's observations, there was a misbelief that a net force, a net force is necessary to keep a body moving with uniform velocity. So, what was the misbelief? A net or overall force, or you may call total force, is necessary to keep a body moving with uniform velocity. So if you want to keep the body in motion, you require a net force, I mean continuous force. The total force is necessary. So for the misbelief, or you may call for that misbelief, there is a reason that after pushing any object like a ball, in this example, we are pushing a ball on the surface. So if you want to continue its motion, what you do, simply goes on pushing the ball. That's it. Then by that the ball travels more and more. So this was the misbelief actually. Why I'm calling this as a misbelief? You will come to know the later part of this study. Okay. After pushing any object like ball in this example, after some time comes to rest. After some time it come to rest. So if you want to continue it, what you have to do? You just go on pushing the ball. Okay. Anyway, it will come to rest. That is due to the friction. That is due to the friction. So please don't worry about the friction part here. I am just giving what is the reason behind the misbelief. So this is a simple demonstration. If you are pushing the ball, after some time it comes to rest. Again, if you want to push, it will move. If you want to do the ball or any body in motion, continuous force, a better word, a net force is required to keep that ball or a body moving with some uniform velocity. That is the reason behind this misbelief. Actually, that misbelief is completely overcome and it is turned into belief and fact made by Galileo Galilei. But for his experiment, he completely ignored, mark my words, completely ignored or assumed the effect of friction. He just ignored the effect of friction on his experiments. What he made? He made a series of experiments and observations. Through that, Galileo reached a correct conclusion that there is no necessity of a net force to keep the body or an object moving with uniform velocity. There is no real need of a net force to keep the body moving with uniform velocity. Dear children, this is most important experiment made by Galileo, which later turned into the say legacy in the field of physics. He observed that when a marble ball rolls down on a smooth inclined plane, its velocity increases and decreases when climbing up. So, for that, he used the two inclined planes here in this picture A and B. He used two different sets. So, this is first, better you call, first inclined plane, and this is second inclined plane. So one is on left hand side and other one is on right hand side. Okay. He observed that when he dropped the marble ball, it rolls down through the inclined plane. As it is moving towards the downwards, its velocity increases. Its velocity increases. That is due to the gravitational acceleration g. So he completely, again I'm reminding, ignored this is a frictionless surface. He ignored there is no friction acting on this ball. I repeat this word because this is very much important in analyzing the experiment. Okay, when he dropped the ball from some point of some point, it the marble ball actually rolls down with the increase in velocity. Increase in velocity is due to the gravitational force acting on the ball. And similarly, when you brought this inclined plane towards right, its velocity decreases. Its velocity decreases when it is climbing up. So he dropped the ball on an inclined plane, its velocity increases, and if you bring the second inclined plane, the same marble ball is moving up with the decrease in the velocity. He argued that if a marble ball kept on one side of a smooth plane, inclined at both angles, it is released from rest, it would roll down the slope and goes up in the opposite side to the same height. So this is important observation made by Galileo by saying that when you are bringing close these two inclined surfaces or planes, so when you drop down the ball, what happens? Here I am writing in this fashion here. So assuming this is the first inclined plane, this is the second inclined plane. So better if I draw, that will be helpful. Okay. So this is the surface. So this is the first inclined plane and this is the second inclined plane. So what happens? When you are dropping the ball of certain height, you say just it as h. If you drop this ball from certain height, it will roll down and reaches this point to the second inclined plane. It climbs up and it reaches the same height where it was coming from. So this h, this height is same here in this side also. Again, note that there is no friction acting on these two surfaces or these two planes. So he argued that when you drop down the marble ball from one first, you say first inclined plane to the second inclined plane, it reaches the same height when it was released. If we change the angle of inclination of the right hand side plane were gradually decreased. If you decrease the angles of inclination in the second plane, marble ball would travel further distances with the same height, with the same original height. For that, let's go back to the picture. Here in this case, if you this is the first case. So if you are making some angle, you make drop down in the angles of this second plane. What happens? It is again the ball is reaching the same height. Again it is the same height. So whenever you are dropping the angles of the second plane, the ball again reaching the same height. I hope you are following my words clearly. Again, if the right hand side plane were plane horizontal, the marble would continue to travel forever trying to reach the same height that it was released from. Remember, he says that when you make the second plane 0, make horizontal, maybe in this picture you are getting the last portion, this one I am talking. When you made the angle of inclination horizontal, the ball would rolls down further and further till it reaches the same height. Remember, he said that it will continue. It will continue to travel forever to reach the same height when it was released from. he assumed what? There is no friction in this case. So the ball would travel further and further. This suggests that an unbalanced force like gravity in this case, or gravitational force, is required to change the motion. So to change the motion, you need an unbalanced force like gravity in this case to change the motion, either speed up or slow down of the marble. But no net force is required, unlike in the first example I quoted, that to give the ball in continuous motion on a surface we need continuous force required. That was the misbelief. He suggested clearly from this experiment no net force is required to sustain the uniform motion in this case. Okay, an unbalanced force is required to change the state of motion of the marble, but no necessity of the force, net force is required. So this was the important demonstration made by Galileo, that an unbalanced force to change the state of motion of the marble in this case. So no net force is needed. This is very much important result. This was taken out by Sir Isaac Newton by studying further and to demonstrate the Newton's laws. So that portion will be discussed in the next period. Till then, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.